I, for one, would like to imagine a future where Eric's children, Jasmine, who was only 21 months old, and her little brother, Hugo, who was just 8 months, will safely attend a school and positively interact with uniformed police officers. Police officers, just like their very own dad. A young boy who loved to play with police and military toys. Eric's mom recalls him coming home from a career fair, so excited, so passionate about the thought of becoming a police officer.
The man who was speaking in the clip introducing today's video was a man named Thomas Carrick. He is the commissioner of the Ontario Provincial Police. The speech he was giving was at the memorial service for Sergeant Eric Mueller. Sergeant Eric Mueller of the Ontario Provincial Police was murdered in the line of duty on May the 11th, 2023 at approximately 2:30 in the morning. He, along with a couple other officers, responded to a call of shots fired near a residence. The officers arrived on scene, checked the area, did not find any evidence of a crime, began approaching the house where the call originated from, and were met by gunfire. These officers were ambushed. All three of them were struck by gunfire. Sergeant Eric Mueller succumbed to his wounds. The two other men were taken to hospital where, at the time of this recording, I believe they are still being treated. Sergeant Eric Mueller was 42 years old, 1 year younger than I am. He leaves behind a wife and 2 children, ages 21 months and 8 months. These are 2 children that are never going to know their father. Sergeant Eric Mueller served his community heroically and paid the ultimate sacrifice. He was killed because people have developed and begun unfairly villainizing police officers who have done nothing wrong. A couple of incidents that were taken from the words spoken at his memorial service that I want to tell you about today. One was in 2008 when Sergeant Mueller was trying to arrest a man with felony warrants. That man chose to use a semi-tractor trailer as a weapon and intentionally struck him, breaking his leg. His leg was damaged so severely that he required 3 surgery and months upon months upon months of physical therapy and rehabilitation just to get back to the job that he loved. He was intentionally attacked. A person was trying to kill him because that person didn't want to face justice for his crimes. Sergeant Mueller still chose to return to work and serve his community, even with all of the pain and suffering that he had endured. Then in 2014, Sergeant Mueller, along with other officers, responded to a call of a car accident. When they arrived on scene, they saw a car that was upside down and engulfed in flames. Sergeant Mueller, along with his fellow officers, physically lifted this vehicle off the ground, and it saved the driver, who surely would have died had it not been for his heroic efforts. The clip that I put at the beginning of this video has a very important line, and I want to read that for you again. He said, "I, for one, would like to imagine a future where Eric's children, Jasmine, who is only 21 months old, and her little brother, Hugo, who is just 8 months, will safely attend a school and positively interact with uniformed police officers, just like their dad." The reason he included that text into the eulogy for Sergeant Eric Mueller is because we have a situation where we have a conflict or a confluence of activism versus reality. The reason I say that is because in the province of Ontario, Canada, there has recently been multiple incidents where police officers in uniform were showing up at their children's schools for activities. A police officer in uniform showing up at a school to observe their child's choir or sporting event. And those police officers were being turned away. A spokesperson for one of the schools said that these police officers in uniform are not welcome because their image terrorizes children. These police officers are heroes. Who put their lives on the line every day, risking life and limb, and in cases like Sergeant Mueller, pay the ultimate sacrifice. And they're being told that their mere presence is terrifying to children. These men are being unfairly villainized. Sergeant Eric Mueller has 2 children, 8 months and 21 months. They will never know their father. I would say that the most lasting images of their father are going to be him in uniform as a hero. This is how we should be remembering our police officers, and this is the image that we should be showing our young people, our students, that the image of a police officer in uniform is the image of someone who has signed up to serve his community with the potential of sacrificing his life for that community. Not this false notion that the image of a police officer terrorizes these children. I can tell you from experience, I spend a lot of time in schools. I work first shift, and there's probably 14 different schools on my precinct. Children are not terrorized by my presence. It got so bad in Ontario, Canada, that I believe it's the Premier, had to issue a decree, had to have a law passed, an ordinance, I'm not sure how they do it there, that made it a crime to turn away a police officer from a school showing up to a school function. This is not okay. This is not how we treat people who sign up for a job and continue to do a job after being severely injured on that job. Men and women who take a job, who dedicate their lives to service, risking it all. When Sergeant Eric Mueller put on his uniform and went to work that day, he did not know that his job was going to leave his children fatherless. I can't imagine a world where if I showed up to my children's school to watch a play or a book reading or a sporting event, that I was going to be treated as something less than human and turned away. I can't imagine putting my children through that. I can't imagine teachers and school administrators putting my children through that. Knowing that Anytime I put on my uniform and show up to work might be the last time I ever walk on this earth. These situations like Eric Mueller, it's a confluence between the activism and reality. The reality is that many of our police officers are heroes, and they're being unjustly vilified and even murdered because of what ignorant people in our public are saying about them. Everybody with a voice needs to stand up and speak out against this. People like Sergeant Eric Mueller do not deserve that kind of treatment. I'm going to leave you with the words of the commissioner, as he is more eloquent than I. I want to thank Sergeant Eric Mueller for his service. And I want to thank his wife and children for their sacrifice.
Enforcement. Thank you. Thank you for being with us today as we remember and pay our respects to Sergeant Eric Mueller. Marie-France, Jeanette, Kathy, Chris, thank you for the honor and privilege of paying tribute to and honoring Eric on behalf of the Ontario Provincial Police. Today I stand before you in shock and disbelief, as it was just over 4 months ago we gathered in a very similar setting to grieve the murder of Provincial Constable Greg Piershala. When I awoke to a phone call at 2:58 a.m. on May the 11th, I thought, please, please, Lord, it cannot be. Please do not let this call be the serious injury or death of one of my officers. It simply cannot be. Certainly not after the unprecedented and unacceptable rash of police officer homicides across our country. This pattern of violence being perpetrated against the police is not my glorious and free Canada. The one I love, the one our Canadian Armed Forces fought for, the one police officers in our local communities proudly stand on guard for. We need to ask ourselves if our police officers, the very ones we rely upon for our safety and security, are not safe, then who is? We are a free and democratic society whose very rights, freedoms, and quality of life depends upon our dedicated and brave police officers. As was the case on May 11th, while the majority of Canadians slept peacefully in their homes, that night and every night, police officers risk their physical safety, psychological well-being, and the sanctity of their families so we can live glorious and free. They are our first line of defense, protecting good from evil, and all too often, the last hope, and in some cases, the only real assistance available to the most vulnerable in our communities. These real-life superheroes, like Sergeant Eric Mueller, deserve to be protected by laws and supported by systems that prioritize both public and officer safety and effectively mitigate the very real and present dangers posed by violent offenders, mental disorders that are likely to result in serious bodily harm, and the access to firearms used in the commission of a crime. Our officers, your officers, and frankly, Canadians deserve nothing less. This marks a pivotal time in our history as Canadians. Who will we be as a nation? I, for one, would like to imagine a future where Eric's children, Jasmine, who is only 21 months old, and her little brother, Hugo, who is just 8 months, will safely attend a school and positively interact with uniformed police officers. Police officers just like their very own dad. A young boy who loved to play with police and military toys. Eric's mom recalls him coming home from a career fair, so excited, so passionate about the thought of becoming a police officer. Today, at a time when violent crime is rising, police officers are questioning. They're questioning their willingness to risk their lives and the future of their families, while others are fearful to enter this noble profession. We need to restore respect for authority, the rule of law. We need to maintain trust and confidence in the police by opposing those who unjustly vilify the very protectors dedicated to, and in some cases giving their lives to serving and protecting us. For the officers who are picking up where Eric left off, we have a collective responsibility to dig deep within ourselves, to find the courage, strength, and resolve needed in these unprecedented times. The same heroic mindset exemplified by the officers and paramedics who risked their personal safety, coming to the aid of Eric and our injured officers. To each of you, I am eternally grateful. The unfortunate reality of life is bad, unfair, and unimaginable things happen. And when they do, police officers are the select few in our communities who overcome the fear and the apprehension of ordinary people to be the extraordinary ones, driven by a sense of duty and an intrinsic desire to selflessly respond, taking on an enormous responsibility others are unwilling or unable to. They are the guardians we all turn to in the time of despair, the hope, the refuge, and safety we all pray we will never need. But we take great peace in knowing there are officers like Eric, willing and able to protect us. As I have said before, I believe with all of my heart and soul, being a police officer is not simply something someone just does. It is not just a job. It is who we are. Eric was one such officer. In 2008, amongst other injuries, Eric sustained a fractured right leg, requiring 3 surgeries when a wanted offender intentionally struck him with a tractor trailer on the 401. With lasting pain, and after much rehabilitation, Eric returned to heroically serving and protecting Ontario. A prime example of which took place in 2014 when Eric and other officers physically lifted a burning vehicle to remove and save the life of an injured driver. A courageous leader who was respected for his knowledge and competence, a coach and mentor, someone who brought out the best in everyone, colleagues and community alike. A leader who felt more like a friend than a supervisor. He put people first, their safety, their well-being, and their development. With a special gift to communicate and make meaningful connections, over his 21 years of exemplary service with the Ontario Provincial Police, Eric peacefully de-escalated and resolved countless situations, truly exemplifying our values of interacting with respect, compassion, and fairness. Eric's legacy will stand the test of time as an inspiration for all of us to challenge ourselves to do and be better. Sergeant Eric Mueller, your brothers and sisters in blue have it from here. We will do as you did and would have done. We will courageously and tirelessly continue to serve with pride, with professionalism, and with honor, while relentlessly pursuing community safety and the security of Ontario. Sergeant Mueller, you truly are a hero in life. Your sacrifice will never be forgotten.